You're listening to Lucid Cafe. Hey, I'm Wendy Halley. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Lucid Cafe, a podcast exploring healing, consciousness, and the complexities of being human. In today's episode, I speak with Howard Charing, a shamanic practitioner who recently, with the help of two very talented artists, created the Amazonian Angel Oracle Deck, a divination tool and guidebook inspired by the visionary art and shamanic wisdom of Pablo Amaringo. Over the last 25 years, Howard has become acknowledged as an international workshop leader on shamanism, an author, and a visionary artist. For over 20 years, he's worked with some of the most respected and extraordinary shamans and elders in the Andes, the Amazon rainforest, and the Philippines. In today's conversation, we talk about the new Oracle deck, as well as his dramatic and intense introduction to shamanism. Please enjoy my conversation with Howard Charing. Howard, thanks so much for joining me.
Well, thank you for the invitation, Wendy. Thank you.
You bet. I don't know if the right word is, you've published this Oracle deck, which is beautiful, inspired by the artwork of Pablo Amaringo, correct?
That's correct, yes.
How did that come to be?
Well, it's a long story, but we got some time.
We have some time, please.
We have the time. Let me go on the story. Well, I've known Pablo for over 20 years, and I've been kind of an admirer and student of his work. He was an artist, founded the Neo-Amazonical School of Painting of Art. And not just in his artwork was brilliant and beautiful, but the whole spiritual wisdom, the visionary knowledge that went into his work. So over the years, our friendship grew and matured. And then one day, I think it was 2007, I think, yeah. I was having an ayahuasca vision in the jungle, and in the vision, a very clear message. All the imagery was Pablo's work, and the voice said to me, do a book with Pablo on his latest work. It was very clear message. So the following day, I was really sitting with this, and I thought, yeah, we're going to do this. So I discussed this with my colleague, Peter Clousey. We used to run retreats together, and we're both friends of Pablo. After the retreat was over, we went over to Pablo, who lives in Pucallpa, and we spoke to him about this, and his whole face lit up. It was just like a light shining, and that was it. So we worked on that, and in 2011, the Ayahuasca Visions of Pablo Amaringo, it's a beautiful book, was published. It's a very large book, and very, very gorgeous imagery, and spent a lot of time with Pablo discussing the stories and the symbolism in each of the paintings. Now, Pablo died in 2009, and a few months later, I went to visit his family and just say hello and everything. And his son Juan showed me a whole trove of unfinished sketches and drawings. Now, some of these sketches I recognize as characters, angels, spiritual beings, and so on, in Pablo's works. And I thought, wouldn't this make a fantastic thing with angels? It's very, very beautiful. And so I had the idea then, 2013, 14, 15, around that time, to do an oracle book on Pablo's angels as the, not his original artwork, obviously, but they were just preliminary sketches. But do something, and I had a few drawings made. I wrote a few narratives, and this is 5 years ago. Then my life got busy with other stuff, traveling and doing this and doing that, and it just sat in a box, literally on the shelf for 5 years. Now, come 2020, the pandemic, and I arrived back home after many adventures, and I get home and I do a shamanic journey to see how long this pandemic lockdown will last for. And the message was, my normal life, no, not really normal, my normal life will resume around October 2021. I thought, oh my God, that's over 18 months. What am I going to do? I've got to do something, because you can't work, you couldn't go out, nothing. then that night I had a dream, and the dream to the angel oracle. And I woke up, yeah, I've got it. And in the morning, I went to the shelf, took the dust off the box, and that was April 2020, and really that was a gift of the pandemic lockdown. Really, this would never have happened. So I'm very grateful in some respects for the lockdown, because I was totally focused on this for over nearly a year. So
Right,
that's the
right.
story. That's how it happened. Yeah.
Okay, so the artwork on each card then is not Pablo's work.
No, there's
It's
no original work in Pablo's work,
okay.
um,
That's
but
what you mean by
some
inspired by.
inspired by. There's no original work. His original work appears as the feature of the book, The Ayahuasca Visions of Pablo Marengo. That's his original work. This was a different project, but it was inspired by Pablo's ideas and artwork. And in every angel, I try to bring I bring some Pablo in, a Pablo quote or Pablo's view on something. So I tie it in together. The inspiration, not just with the artwork, but also with the words. And there's a 200-page book with this deck, and that's a very beautiful thing to do.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let me make sure I understand. Did you actually do the artwork?
No, I didn't. I'm going to come on to that now.
Okay.
So I knew a very good artist here near where I live, a friend, and so I asked her, and this is during the pandemic, would you like to do this project? And she agreed, and she did a few samples and a few sketches. Then I outlined, this is what the angel is, this is where the angel's from, this is the kind of clothes they're wearing, this is the scene, this is the theme, this is what they're holding, this is what's behind them, in front of them. She did a couple of sketches, and once we agreed on the final sketch, she digitized the whole thing. So it was a all kind of computerized file. And then by chance, I found a fantastic, but she couldn't do the colorization because coloring graphics is a specialized aspect, in fact. I found by chance a graphic guy in Bucharest, Alexandru, and so we got together. Now, all of this thing was done online, on Zoom or Skype. I was discussing, I was standing up, I was miming this, the angel's looking like this, she's like this, in front of us this, and I supplied Alexandru with the palette he has to use for the color. So the palette is as close to Pablo's color palette as possible. So everything was done online. In fact, I remember seeing Alexandru after the pandemic and lockdown was all gone. I was in Bucharest to say, let's meet up, And the first thing I said to him, oh my God, you're much bigger in real life than you are on the screen. I've only seen this guy on the screen, never saw him in real life. We did an amazing project together. So I really am grateful for this technology that enabled this to happen, because it couldn't have happened. And it's kind of a miracle. Like 20 years ago, you couldn't do a thing like this. It was impossible.
Pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just realizing I never flipped to the back page of the book, which has Karina's bio and Alexandru's bio as well. Yeah. So silly me, but I'm glad that I asked, because now I know.
Oh, they mentioned it anyway, because I mean, those guys made a fantastic contribution. And not only that, there come a time when something changed with them as well. They kind of, you felt it, you saw it in their work, that they kind of, they got the heart into it. It wasn't just a job for them. They kind of suddenly got a spiritual buzz, a kick from it.
Like
and
a calling of sorts.
Yeah, and that changed the vibe of the work. And it was just such a pleasant experience working with them. And I hope they get some form of benefit by working on this project, not just financial, obviously, but also in recognition of their work as well. So that's why I put the full bio and acknowledgement and so on and so forth for them.
The work is beautiful. I mean, the colors are incredibly vibrant. It brings them to life.
That is Pablo's color palette.
Yeah.
Yeah. I worked with Alexandru on the palette, and you could put these pictures next to Pablo's paintings, and you will see the similarity in the colors.
Okay, so Alexandru really honored Pablo's vision in that way.
Absolutely. So did Corina and Alexandru. They did such a fantastic work. I can say that. Yeah.
All of these beings in the cards, these angels, were actually inspired by Pablo's ayahuasca visions?
No, they weren't inspired by Pablo's ayahuasca visions. Pablo's ayahuasca. There's one or two stories, anecdotes in the book, which are directly from Pablo. There's some beautiful anecdotes in there, but it was inspired by my experience, my ongoing work and life's journey and so on. but also it was something magical was happening, and as I was writing, kind of the words, the ideas would just flow, the words all around me, and it was also a personal journey. For example, the Angel of Peace. She's very beautiful. I said, okay, how do you write about peace? Angel of Peace. And all I could write about was war, death, genocide, murder, killing, ethnic cleansing, And I thought, and then it was for me was, okay, Howard, you got that out of your system now, So next day I could write about peace. So everything I did was an inner journey for me as well. And also, apart from the visualization for each angel, okay, I'm going to write about. I wrote down the angels I like to write about. And okay, say the angel of death. So angel of death, what's she about? What she look like? What's she doing? So the whole visualization, and then I got the image came to me in my mind, and the image of the angel in my mind is what I conveyed to Karina.
Oh.
So I did it from a visionary perspective. Then I conveyed the image on the computer, on Zoom and Skype to her. And that was a very beautiful thing. And then sometimes it was really like writing poetry.
So they were your visions then?
These are my visions. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got confused.
They're my
So
visions.
all right.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking all these obnoxious questions, right?
So no, it's good to. I mean, for me, it's obvious, but I mean, obviously, you don't know that, so it's a very good question. Please feel free to ask any question what you want. I mean,
okay, thank you.
Problem.
So you were inspired by Pablo's artwork,
yeah,
and then you had this idea of, wouldn't it be amazing to create this oracle deck inspired by his artwork? And then you had visionary experiences that inspired each of the cards. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's a cool process. I'd love to learn more about that. But before we get into that, I would love to hear how you were drawn to the shamanic path.
Well, yeah, for sure. Another long story. Okay, we're going back now to 1983. I was at work, and so I went in the elevator to go up, and suddenly, my stomach is in my mouth, and I realized the elevator's crashing, and that's when I kind of had a near-death experience. I knew.
Holy shit! You're serious?
Very serious, yeah, very serious.
Man.
And I described this story in my book published in 2017, The Accidental Shaman. And that's a little pun on the word. So I'll continue the stories. I knew I was going to die, and I kind of did. I was gone. I wasn't there anymore. I left my body, and I was somewhere else. Then I remember thinking, no, I don't want to die, and then I'm back in my body. And this is all happening at terminal velocity, 11.7 meters a second, So, but time stopped. That's the most strangest thing. Time stopped. And I thought, okay, I'm back. How do I get through this? And I thought, no, I've seen it in the cartoons, kind of thing. If I jump up in the air, when the lift hits whatever it hits down the bottom of the tunnel, I'll be in the air. Of course, you can't do that. You can't move because you're in free fall too. So I tried to jump up. I couldn't move. And suddenly, in a flash, I knew exactly what to do. So I took out my pack of tissues and I shoved them in my mouth between my teeth. And then I went into a crouch, a haunch on the floor. And as soon as I'd done that, the lift smashed into the time started again. And I hit the bottom of the lift shaft, yes, elevator shaft. Now, if I hadn't put that pack of tissues in my mouth, the first thing was my lower jaw smashed up against my upper jaw. If my tongue was anywhere near there, it would have been chopped off. So, and it's not like I had a plan. What do I do if I'm in an elevator crash? I had no plan, but I just knew exactly what I had to do to survive this. However, I did crack my neck and back, and I was not able to stand or walk or support the weight of my head on the thing. But if I hadn't done that, I'd have been dead and no tongue as well. So it took many, many years of suffering. Couldn't do anything. And then one day I was having all sorts of treatments. One day the physiotherapist, he looked at me in a very strange way. I've never seen him look at me this way. He said to me, "Howard, do you want to get well again?" And it's not like I couldn't kind of answer that question immediately because I got used to being like this condition. And then I closed my eyes. I really kind of drew all my power. Do I want to get well? Yes, I want to get well. So I said to him, yes, I want to get better. Then you have to forgive all the people you blame for this elevator crash. It was caused by the engineers working on the lift system, the elevator system, without shutting it down. So it was caused by engineering incompetence. But I was really angry about the whole thing, because my life became a catastrophe.
Naturally, yeah.
And yeah, but he said forgive. So I forgave them. I forgave them all sincerity, all my might, and I forgave them. And as I forgave them, a weight of 10 tons lifted from me. It was an amazing experience. And so many things happened after that. And the physiotherapist, a guy called Richard, he said to me, "What happened?" I said, "Don't you know what happened? This is what happened." No, that didn't happen. I don't remember any of that. So he didn't know what happened. He was in some kind of strange trance state, and he told me
Wait,
what to
wait,
do.
you're saying he didn't remember
He didn't remember
asking
anything.
you if you
Anything.
want to?
He
Wow.
didn't remember anything. It was a complete blank. And so that was one of those mysteries. And anyway, I get home and I'm feeling like I'm on cloud nine, and I'm seeing these beautiful clouds of iridescent particles and colors moving around, and it was gorgeous. And they moved into me, and now I recognize what they were. They were angels. You know? And that was the beginning of my journey to health again. That was through forgiveness. So forgiveness is a big deal. You really carry a weight with it. And
Absolutely. Can I ask you about forgiveness for a second?
yeah, for sure.
Because that's something that a lot of people clearly struggle with. And you're making it sound like it was actually an easy process for you. Was it an easy process, or did it take some time for you to forgive
No,
the engineers?
no, I did it there and then. But as I said, it was I had to use all my might, all my sincerity, all my force to do this. It wasn't something easy, but I forgave them, and it was such a strange situation anyway. So I'm on the spot. The guy's looking at me saying, "You have to forgive them." Okay, if I want to get better, I have to forgive. That was basically the message. I wanted to get better. I made that decision there and then. The
Oh, on
decision
the spot.
on the spot. I was on the spot.
Oh,
I made the decision that I wanted to get well again. Yeah, and decisions have great power. Then I managed to, with all my might, forgive them. And on that moment of forgiveness, this huge, heavy weight just evaporated from me, lifted from me.
right.
And from that moment, everything was different. And Richard, the physiotherapist, he didn't remember a thing what
Okay.
happened.
Yeah. So I guess I was not understanding that it was happening all instantaneously. I thought maybe it was a process you went through after
You
he
know,
suggested that.
well, one thing I've learned, there is no working towards forgiveness. You just got to do it. There is no working. You have to do it. You know, there's no, oh, I'll forgive tomorrow. Let me process this so I forgive. No, you have to forgive.
That's interesting because I
Unconditionally.
yeah, I've always thought that to get to forgiveness, you have to accept that your situation is the way it is, that the people did the harm that they did, or the situation harmed you in the way that it did.
Well, I had accepted that, and I was angry about that. That was the issue.
Yeah.
You know, but the point really here is there is no working towards it. It's just
Mm,
do it or don't do it. There's no, it's very, very black and white in that respect.
interesting. Okay. So then physiologically, what happened to your body after you forgave?
Well, after I forgave, I felt much lighter. It's like my spirit had returned. My spirit was back in my body. And
Hmm.
from just being a zombie looking out the window, watching leaves fall down the whole autumn, into really wanting to get well again. And I felt better. And I started having visitations at night from these, like a vision, like a window would open up in my, yeah, I'd be sleeping. And I hear, Howard, wake up, wake up, wake up. And I kind of woke up, and no one was talking to me. I looked up and I saw these beings like through a window, and they were smiling at me. They were happy, and they said, "Do these exercises to get well again." So they were showing me these exercises, like monks were showing me these exercises, and I did these exercises. So bit by bit, piece by piece, over the years, it took a few years for me to get functional again, like walking, and I couldn't bend my legs, couldn't do anything because my knees were crushed as well. So it took 2 or 3 years to get back again. Okay, I can't do sports, I can't run marathons anymore, that kind of stuff. But I'm functional. I can walk everywhere. I can support the weight on my head and on the shoulders. It was very painful. I mean, but also other things. I was always in pain, and I found out that if I lay down and put my hands on me, the pain went. The pain like kind of pumped out my body, like vibrated away from my body. So I found skills that helped me to get well again, and I didn't know what I was doing, and a couple of people, this is how it starts, doesn't it? You start in strange ways, start working as healing, as a healer. People coming to me, I've got a back problem. Can you help me? I heard your back is getting much better now. I said, okay. So they would sit down and I would visualize they're back strong, vibrant, healthy. And as I was doing this, their back kind of straightened up. And it was amazing for me. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what was going on. So I joined this course from a Spiritual Healing Federation. And it was very nice, very lovely. It was very, very nice. And one of the participants there was into shamanic stuff. And I talking to him about these things. This was Leo Rutherford, who later on I close partnership and friendship with. He said, look, you haven't invented this. This has been around for thousands of years, and it's called shamanism. So that was my intro to shamanism. I was doing it without knowing what it was.
Right.
So,
Wow. Huh?
one of those stories, huh?
I love those kinds of stories. I appreciate you telling me because I didn't know. I didn't know you had a book out about your experience.
Yeah, it's not the book's not about my experience, but it's a semi-biographical book. Tells you my story in that book, The Accidental Shaman, and it kind of I tell the story, what happened to me, how it worked, and the forgiveness thing as well, and everything. So it's in the book. Well, basically, more eloquent in the book, obviously, but it's in there.
And what else is in the book?
Yeah, well, I give this various over the years working in the shamanic field. I've developed various techniques and practices and traditional practices, and I explain them, and I work on all sorts of interesting, for me, aspects to this about death and dying, about exercises to look at your death, things that have happened to me and your birth. I've had all sorts of visionary experiences, and I've managed to kind of structure these experiences and stories and narratives into practices and exercises which people can explore themselves. So that's really this is my story, and this is what I've learned, this is what I've experienced, and I've put it into a structure which you too can explore this as well. So that's the essence of that book.
Okay. And so then once you were to understand that, oh, this is shamanism, then I imagine you started exploring what that even meant.
Sure, yeah.
What role does shamanism play in your life now?
Well, yeah, I do a regular practice for myself and to check on my reality, make sure there's nothing untoward, nothing messy there. I do this in the via shamanic journey, which is a visionary practice, and I talk about this in the Angel book as well, because there's the Angel of Three Worlds, and I describe that we're not just physical beings. No, we exist in multi-dimensional forms, and shamanic practices give you a way to explore these other dimensional aspects of yourself. And this is what I do. It's given me a closer connection with trees and plants, that's for sure. And I would just say it's given me a new philosophical foundation for living my life. That's all. I try and look normal as possible every day, fitting everywhere, but yeah, it's a philosophical shift in how you perceive and how you act life. I mean, I'm speaking personally, obviously here. Also, I run workshops and I do individual healing sessions and so on.
That's what I was going to ask, is if you're using this ability to be of service in any way besides writing your book.
Oh yeah. No, I'm very active. I mean, busy on that front. I've got a website. I might as well give you my website so people can hear it.
Absolutely.
It's www.hgcharing.com. So it's got a lot of art there. It's got a lot of the workshops. It's got various videos and all sorts of nice things on there. So it's my work is described on there.
Beautiful. Okay. I'm a longtime shamanic practitioner as well. And so I am always curious about how people came to find themselves on that path. And then
mine was the accident, near-death experience.
That's a classic, yeah.
And the act of forgiveness, yeah.
Yeah, that's a classic way to enter.
Yeah, it changed my life. I mean, that accident. I mean, now the funny thing is, although I was very fit and sporty before the accident, looking back now, if I had the option, in hindsight, not to step in that elevator, I would step in that elevator. My life changed in such beautiful, rich, rewarding ways. So it was, although it's a catastrophe at the time, in hindsight, it's been the biggest transformative event in my life.
Yeah, like you were describing, the pandemic was this gift that enabled you to create this oracle deck. You're saying this accident was an incredible gift that helped you open yourself up in ways that you never would have expected.
Exactly, yeah.
So I've got just a light question for you. How has your view of the nature of reality changed as a result of these experiences?
Well, underlying all of this is in my deepest state of out there, shall we say. I can never shake off the feeling that something somewhere is having a very good laugh at our expense. I've never been able to shake that feeling. But the main thing here really is that what I do and what I work is really based on the tenet that the physical reality we inhabit is really a projection of another reality. And by working and changing things in this other reality, call it what you want, the ethereal realm or other dimensions or the upper world, lower world, it can have very powerful effects in this material world. So the material world is a projection of this other field of consciousness. I think that's where I work in. That's where I work. Yeah, and the person's life story is in there.
It's complicated, huh?
Well, yeah. But it's very rewarding, and that's where I work. And I work with individuals. It's like I explore them from a different landscape, and where everything is open, everything is frank, everything is clear, and this goes back. If you can go back, the landscape stretches back through other generations. So it's quite. I'm kind of in awe with all this thing as well, but it has great effect, and I don't kind of advertise or promote my healing sessions, but it's all word of mouth, and that, so by that kind of feedback that it's having a beneficial effect for people.
Yeah, absolutely. When you perceive, do you perceive visually or do you perceive symbolically, and then you're interpreting what those symbols mean to you?
Well, it's yes and no. I try to describe this sometimes. It's really it's like when I connect to somebody, I call in the spirit guide, and I feel the presence of the spirit guide, and then I open up to the person, and I get a download. The download is visual, is kinesthetic. It could be I smell something. It could be I hear voices. So I get a whole package of information, and then I have to unpack it. So I just take it layer by layer, pack by pack, and it's not just visual. Visual is just one of the ways of perception. I mean, the sense of smell is very, very important for me. I can smell illnesses, diseases. They all have a specific kind of aromatic signature. And sometimes the person wants to tell me something, and I hear them in my mind trying to tell me something. I say, okay, well, what is it you want to tell me? But the first part of a session is to ask the client, don't tell me anything. I need to know nothing at the beginning. Just give me your name. That's all I need to know. And that way my mind is kind of clear, that my thoughts are not predisposed to a certain area. My mind is completely clear. And in that clearness, I get the download. And I know it hasn't been affected or influenced by anything the person said. And
Right.
then we unpack it. So, and that really has an impact on people. They haven't told me anything, but
I
here I
imagine
am.
it does. Yeah.
I'm just saying this, that, and the other, and does this resonate with you? Yeah. So yeah, but it works that way. I have to know nothing about the person. The person tells me something, then my mind is predisposed, and then I can't tell if it's symbolic. Is it real, or is it because the person's told me?
Exactly.
Only in a blank mind, a blank slate, a tabula rasa, can I trust the vision or the information.
Now that's very cool. So then, would you say that your learning in this way has been a byproduct of your connections with your helpers in the
For
dream
sure.
time, or have you also received training in physical reality?
Oh yeah, and let me tell you about the training I received. This is the training I received. It's not like, oh, it's so spiritual, so lovely. But going back to the beginning here, when I had a negative or disharmonious or bad thought about something or someone, my head would be hit with a hammer, figuratively speaking. Like,
Okay.
Ow, 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 ow. I was like, my head would go into a vice. I think it's a better expression. And it would take a bit of time to loosen it, and I realized what was happening. If I had a nice, benign, benevolent thought, I'd have this lovely glow in my body. So yeah, I was trained like you train a donkey, with a carrot and a stick. and I can tell you, it really works. And I thought the pain was so much, I just got to stop thinking these things. So I put a policeman in my mind, like the typical British policeman with a helmet and truncheon,
Nice. Yeah.
And he examined every thought that went out. If it was not a good thought, he said, okay, that thought goes back in, doesn't go out, erase it, And so eventually that policeman idea, it kind of got integrated, so it wasn't needed anymore. But what I learned from all that was that thoughts are not nothing. Thoughts have power. With your thoughts, you can either help somebody or harm somebody. So,
Right.
and that was the training. I was trained like a donkey. So nothing glamorous, but very effective.
Yeah, it sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
That actually sounds like a really cool technique. The idea of putting a policeman in your psyche
Yeah, well, I
to
had to do something because it was too painful, and I really had to kind of really manage what my thoughts, what I was thinking, and clear that. And eventually, over the years, over the work you've done, the basis, the source of those negative thoughts and so on was piece by piece dismantled and erased. Okay, so it's a lifelong process, but you got to start somewhere.
so you have this really rich inner experience all the time, it sounds like, yeah? Or you can access it at any time now
Well,
because
I
you
can do, but I switch it on, switch it off. If I'm not doing my work, it's totally switched off. But when I do my work, I kind of switch it on. I tune in, connect to the spirit guides, and there I am. So there's a
yeah.
definite difference in my work and my non-work. If I was all day like this, it'd be very ungrounding for me, and
Right,
I
yeah.
do open. So no, I have very clear boundaries with this.
It's a discipline.
It's a discipline, yeah, yeah.
So then when you sat down to really work on the Oracle deck,
Yeah.
did you have like in your mind there's going to be this many cards, or did it come to you bit by bit?
No, I started the structure. Okay, how many cars? Okay, 33 cars is a good number. I looked at numerology. 33 was the right number, and it's acceptable. And I spoke to a few people who have loads of tarot and oracle decks. Some have 20, 30, 40. I said, what's more important, the number of cards in the deck or the quality? No, the quality is always more important. Okay, so with that, okay, 33 is the right number. And then I wrote down the angels that I would like to talk about. The angel with the characteristics and their titles and so on, and the names. And then I would visualize them. Visualize the angel of grace, the angel of conception, the angel, all sorts of angels. And
Yeah.
and these aren't the traditional biblical angels. These are angels from the Amazonian mythological world. So it's tied into that, and also some of Pablo's notes. He had some names which are he used for spiritual beings. So I could use those, and if they were applicable. And then I'll visualize them. The angel of this, where are they from? What kind of costume they're wearing? All that kind of stuff. So I had a very solid image in my mind of the angel and their attributes, so I could convey this to Karina, and also it gave me the seed to start writing about it. And it was like writing poetry. When you write poetry, there's poetry and prose. Prose is one thing. It's like you describe things, you give a narrative about things. Writing poetry is a very different buzz. It's a very different kick. It's a very different kind of bunch of brain cells get involved. So effectively, it was like writing poetry, and all the words were just flowing through me. And sometimes I looked at it. Oh my God, that's really nice. I really put those words nicely together. Yeah. So yeah, it was a journey for me as well.
I bet. I was thinking that this would not be probably the easiest endeavor to undertake.
Well, thank you, pandemic. Otherwise, it would never have been done.
Talk about discipline, right? The amount of work it would require. I mean, there's so much for each individual card.
Yeah, and it's kind of multi-dimensional. Some of the cards they talk about the outer, the outer thing, the outer situation. Then it moves on to your inner situation. So there's outer and inner. There's two readings per card, so there's 66 readings for the deck. And some of these readings, I see myself in them. This is how I used to be, and this is how I am now. And sometimes I think of a certain person, and I think, yeah, they represent this card. So I'll think about their life, how they live their life, and what happened to them, and I'll weave that in as well. So inspiration was coming from all sorts of places. But I was surprised by some of the words and so how it flowed. I mean, it was a yeah, kind of a magical experience for me too, for sure.
Well, but from what you've described about your inner life and your connection with the other side, that's not surprising that it was a rich experience and that it was surprising at times.
Yeah, it was a very, very rich, very beautiful, and I'm very grateful because it is a very beautiful thing. Not just the imagery, but it's poetry. And the funny thing was, then I wrote about the angels and the readings and the stories, and then I had to write about the how to use the cards. You know, how to use you do the cards this way and that way, and the layouts. And it went from writing poetry to writing like an instruction manual. It was just a different vibe completely. I didn't realize it until I started. I did the instructions after I wrote about the angels. And you
Okay.
know, it was like you do this and you do that and you hold it and you this way and you put it that way. And it was right like writing a kind of a manual to drive a car. You put the key ignition, you put the handbrake on, you know.
Yeah, technical writing.
It was a yeah, a technical writing. It was such a different vibe from writing about the angels. That was like a celestial buzz. And writing about the instruction, the guides, was writing something, you know, down to earth and a very different vibe.
Right. And so what I was wondering is you made this an oracle deck as opposed to a tarot deck. So how do you
Correct.
see the difference?
Well, a tarot deck is very specific. It has 72 cards, has four suits, and each of the numbers and the suits and so on have all sorts of symbolic meaning. So yeah, so if you write a tarot, you're working within an existing structure of 72 cards for the tarot system. Oracles are free form. Oracles don't have that structure. Oracles, you have more freedom to write about. Yeah.
So what is your hope for people who are using this particular deck?
Well, I just hope it helps them, you know, and I just well, the essence of an oracle deck, not just this one, but the essence of an oracle deck and tarot as well, is not to tell the future, not to tell the person's fortune, but really, in essence, is to put them in contact with their higher order consciousness, which knows what to do. And if that succeeds, and when people can look at their life and their problems and their concerns and their issues through the lens of the high order consciousness, then that's been successful. And then they have a different perspective. They can change their life. It's transformative. It struck me. Just anecdote here. My daughter lives in Canada, and when she first went there, she went there in the middle of the pandemic. So it was, I thought, oh my God, she's going to have a tough time. She can't get a job, and the next lockdown. She had a work visa and so on. And one of her friends, one evening, they had an oracle deck, and she drew the card, and the card said endurance, and that card really changed it for her. You know, so sometimes one word, one message can turn a person's thoughts and thinking and feelings completely around, and that's the magic of oracles and tarot.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, and I could see how that card of all of the other ones was perfect for her probably because it's like, hang in there.
Hang in there,
It'll
hang in
work out.
there,
Yeah.
and she did, and she hung in there, and it really lifted her spirits. You know.
So I'm glad that you described what an oracle deck is. It's a different kind of divination in that it's not forecasting your future or telling you what to do. It sounds like from what you're describing, it's more like some suggestions or maybe some guidance for how to manage a situation that you might be experiencing.
Yeah, from a different perspective, and the same is valid for tarot as well. It just gives a person a different view, a different perspective, a higher order perspective on the circumstances, why this is happening, how did you get here, what I need to do, you know. So it really can be helpful to people. People, you know, have very difficult situations, and so I'm talking about oracles and tarot, but I could just extend this to all divinatory practices there to show a person the light, the way they can proceed, and how they got here, and how they're going to get out of here. And that can be so helpful to people.
It can, absolutely. I know I've found over the years that some folks are actually looking to divination to tell them what to do. They want answers. They feel so desperately stuck in a situation.
Yeah. That's one thing. But if they get a spark, I mean, I'd use my daughter Elizabeth as an example. You know, that one word endurance, that
Mhm.
gave her the stamina, the strength to hang in there. She really did. Yeah. And also, I mean, the other thing as well. I mean, there is another energy. I speak about this oracle because I'm kind of qualified for that. There is another energy in here, some kind of a spiritual energy that's manifested through the words, the shape of the words I use, and the imagery and the symbolism. Something else has come into this as well. So it's not just the words that trigger ideas and responses and transformative experiences. It's the imagery and it's the poetry which can just lift someone's spirits and take them out of the ruts of the hole that they found themselves in. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it sounds like what a really good friend might do for you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes a kind word, a friendly word can just change everything, doesn't it?
Mhm.
It just can do. And a divinatory idea or an oracle reading can help people. And so if you're asking me what I like to do from the deck, I like people to enjoy it, have fun with it, and also use it in a way that's going to help them. And for myself personally, I thought, well, I'm doing something good in the world that's going to help people. That's nice.
Yes, this might be a weird question, but is there a specific type of concern that you would suggest people turn to an oracle deck like yours for? If I have a question about something, or is it I have a concern about something?
Well, I think it's for both. I'm not saying it's going to give you an answer in a direct, non-symbolic way, but it can certainly change your thinking about a certain situation. Like, why am I thinking so negatively about this person, this relationship, this situation? Why am I thinking that way? What is causing this? How can I shift this? Yeah, it can do that rather than give you the response. Is my husband having an affair with somebody? I mean, you may not know that, but you're thinking that, and that thinking is altering your perspective and your energy. So a reading from an oracle may change that, and you may be able to step back and get a different perspective of this. So
Right.
so end of the day, there's two types of questions. Like, what is my spiritual path, or what is the cosmic this or that, or my life is all messy. How can I get it solved? And I like to think that oracle decks really help people in helping them in their messy lives. I mean, that's the real benefit. We're human beings, live on Earth, not in the cosmos as well, but we're here as human beings, and anything that helps us to live a life as human beings is good.
Yeah, it's a wee bit challenging, huh?
Yeah. That's a basic view of mine anyway. So we're here as human beings. Let's try and sort our messy lives out.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
It's not an easy gig we have here on planet Earth
yeah. Well, yeah,
all the time anyway.
and we need all the help we can get.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So how would someone find this deck?
Yeah, I think it's available generally. It's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, booksellers, bookstores. I think it's going to be it's
Pretty much anywhere you can get a book.
anywhere online, in bookstores, everywhere. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great.
I'm not. I mean, Inner Traditions are very, very good quality, and a publisher. And I was very happy that they liked the proposal, and I was very delighted to work with them again. Because I've worked with them before. They're very professional, very, very, very smart people. And I like working with smart people.
Yeah, they're down the road from me.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so I had high expectations that they would produce a product, a book and cards that would be really fantastic. When I saw it, I thought, oh my God, this is just mind blowing. It's beautiful. So I wrote to them, and I just said, I just want to tell you, to the people that I work with and the publisher people in general, that what you've done has far exceeded my very high expectations. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Thanks ever so much. And that message went out to everybody in the publishing organization. So I'm totally delighted by the quality of this whole, how they've done it. It's beautiful. I'm delighted by it. And that's important for me. I have to be happy with it, and I'm more than happy with it.
Yeah, the whole thing is really well done. So they must have been thrilled to get your feedback.
Oh yeah, it's just a pleasure, and I was very happy to tell them that, because they like to hear good feedback too. I mean, they want to hear, oh yeah, I love it. It's great. Anybody does.
Absolutely, does. Yeah. Well, Howard, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me.
Okay, my pleasure, Wendy, and it's really nice for me as well talking to you. I really enjoyed our conversation.
He died in an elevator accident. I was not expecting that. I think Howard experienced the content of many people's nightmares, and then not only lived to tell about it, but used the experience as a catalyst to be of service to others. I think that's cool as hell. Oh man. To learn more about Howard and the Amazonian Angel Oracle deck, please visit hgcharing.com. Thank you for checking out this episode. I appreciate you very much and wish you a magical 2023 filled with wonderful surprises. Until next time.